Faulkner is a writer, martial artist, sketcher, para-archer and dreamer, but most importantly, a husband and a father. He lives with, but refuses to suffer from, both a rare genetic neuromuscular disability called congenital myasthenia, which causes muscle weakness and restricted lung function, and spina bifida. He was hoping for a better mutation, maybe something that would allow him to join the X-Men, but who knows, there's still time. He's still a superhero. The reason this is mentioned is to highlight diversity and disability in writing and to show everyone, especially his kids, that anything is indeed possible. For more information, visit www.jfaulkner.com. Tonight, Jay is reading Always and Forever.
I should point out that this wasn't chosen by me. This is thanks to some people sitting not too far away. I won't mention their names. And not just Kathy, Trish joined in. But it does look quite good. This story was an accident. I was invited to submit for an anthology that was a little bit unusual. It was started on Twitter. It was, and it sounds very weird, it was a horror erotica story based around, I won't tell you what it's based around because it's in here. I didn't actually read the terms and conditions when I wrote it, you know, as you do. I didn't know that it was erotica at all. So, I just saw what it was about and thought, yeah, I can do that. But it was accepted. So before anyone gets too jumpy about it, there's no erotica in it. That's the bit I didn't. Well, if you're all excited, I've got about 20 copies of the book. Just leave your names. The other stories are all quite erotic. But you'll figure out what the main theme was, and you'll figure out why it's a little bit unusual. That said, the year it came out, it got to number 33 in the overall Amazon list of books for a few days. I'm still not sure how. Anyway, so Always and Forever. She's at the door, still. I don't need to look down from our bedroom window, the full moon illuminating her in too bright detail to see her. I know she's there. She's been there for the last 3 days, the last 3 nights. Nights are the worst. It's then I miss her most. In the 2 years we'd been married, we'd never slept apart. The same ritual, from our first night together to our last. Undress each other, climb between the cold sheets and warm each other as we made love. Then finally, we'd lie face to face, whispering our personal mantra before falling asleep. I love you. I love you too. Always. Forever. But she's at the door again. I don't need to look. She's been there ever since she died. When it began, experts said it was just a variation of the seasonal flu. 2 weeks later, hospitals were overflowing and the military had been deployed to quell riots in major cities. The flu outbreak became an epidemic so fast it overwhelmed the country. The epidemic turned into an apocalypse, at least according to the last radio transmissions we'd heard. The voice on the radio never said where he was, but when he wasn't quoting from the Bible or quietly sobbing to himself, he was repeating the same information over and over. The dead walked. When I first heard him say that, I thought maybe he was infected. Perhaps insanity or delusion were one of the symptoms. But his story didn't change. For 2 days he reported that the dead were moving, attacking healthy people, tearing them apart, devouring them. We didn't believe it at first. Then the power died, the phones too. Finally, even the radio went quiet, and we were afraid. Rebecca and I didn't make love that night. The sheets never warmed beneath us. We just held each other, our bodies forming a sanctuary around her swollen stomach as if we could protect our unborn child with ourselves. 6 months earlier, we'd cried at the news that we'd finally created life. And now, in the cold dark night, we cried again. I hoped that, living in the middle of nowhere on an old farm, we'd be safe from the outbreak and the horrors that it brought. We were miles and hours away from the nearest city. We would be safe. But the next day Rebecca was sick. We both smiled thin smiles and pretended it was just a form of morning sickness. She hadn't been sick throughout the whole pregnancy, but maybe this was the price she had to pay for becoming a mother after all. But when a swelling underneath her armpit started to bleed and a fever set in, we stopped smiling. I sat with her all day and throughout the night. I mopped her scarlet skin with tepid water and wiped vomit from her mouth. She cried red tears through swollen eyes and screamed in pain-fueled incoherency. And then she stilled. I rested my hand on her stomach and prayed. I watched the chest rise and fall, slow and uneven. Exhausted, I leaned my head against her head, ignoring the smell of sickness. Sunlight pierced my eyes as I woke in a silent bedroom. The sweat-stained sheets were empty. As I staggered to my feet, I caught my reflection in the dresser mirror and the words scrawled there in her favourite lipstick. Always. I stumbled down the stairs and heard a rhythmic thumping coming from beyond the kitchen. I ran through fallen chairs and scattered tablecloth and saw her through the window in the door. Her skin taut and pale, eyes fixed and glassy, she walked into the door time after time after time. I fell to my knees and swallowed the bitter taste of bile. As I slept in our bed, that final night together, she used the last of her strength to stagger from the house, our house, and die alone in the night. She'd know what she'd become, what she would have done to me if she died in my arms. And now I've been sitting in our bedroom, alone, for 3 days and 3 nights, listening as she walks into the door, trying to return home, return to me. Enough. I walk down to the kitchen where moonlight streams in through the glass. I open the door. She moves toward me with a rictus smile of, "Longing?" I see her swollen stomach writhe and my eyes fill. I wait for her embrace with a whisper of, "Forever." Thank you.